Hey, well, it's Huck and long time no see, huh? Actually, Huck is doing pretty good lately. I've still got a few issues going on, but all in all, this is probably about the best I've done. I've been out of the hospital now for, well over a month, 6 weeks or whatever, so that's always a good thing. I'm still taking the IVs. I've still got a PICC line in my arm. If I can show you there, I've got IVs here. In fact, I got to take one here in about a half hour or so. I'll be time for me to take my morning IV. I take them twice a day, and that's because way back in November, if you recall, if you've been watching my videos for that long, back in November, I had come down with the CMV virus. And, when I first got it, it was causing a lot of issues. And I was in the hospital for a while. They put me on these IVs to try to get rid of the virus. And the weird thing was that, they measure like the volume of virus that's in your body by taking blood, and they give you a number of units of the virus that they find in your bloodstream. And so when I was first diagnosed, it was like an astronomical number. I can't even remember the number now. It was like 900,000 or 750,000 or something. And within like 2 or 3 days of treatment, that went down to something like 33,000, which was, a smaller number, but still significant. And at any rate, by the time I got out of the hospital, they wanted those numbers to be down to like around 1,000 or something. And it took a couple of weeks to get it that far. And then they sent me home with a PICC line in my arm and having me take these IVs. And now this was way back, like, I don't know, right after Thanksgiving, into the month of December. So I came home, before Christmas or something, a couple of weeks before Christmas with a PICC line in my arm and taking IVs. And I continued to do that for about, I think, 5 weeks at home. They had to have a nurse come once a week and change the dressing on my IV line in my arm. And but eventually, they got that number down to around 300 or 200 and something, and they took me off the IVs and they gave me an oral medication, a pill to take every day. Well, again, the pill ended up causing problems that were. It was causing my white blood cells count to be extremely low. At least they believed that was one of the causes of that. And so they took me off the pills and they put me back on the IVs because the IVs didn't seem to have that side effect. And I've been on this IVs ever since. Now, the good news is they're giving me that and this other medication. They started giving me this about a couple of weeks ago, Previmis. I don't know. At any rate, they're big, fat pills that are hard to get down. But between the combination of the 2 IVs a day and this, I saw my numbers jump because it was stubborn for weeks. Even though I've been taking these IVs, the numbers just didn't seem to want to go down much. They were like hovering in between 200 and 300 and wouldn't, go below that. But this past week here, I went into the hospital and had, along my other tests, I had my blood drawn Tuesday, and my numbers were down to 81, I think, 81 or 86, something like that. Either way, that's not only the lowest it's ever been, but it was the most significant jump it's had in weeks. So apparently the combination is doing what they want. Now, they won't take me off of these IVs, I don't think, until they're convinced that this is going to go away completely. And I'm going to probably end up taking an oral medication, basically forever because, kind of like the chickenpox virus or whatever, when you get the CMV virus, it kind of stays with you. Even though there's no traceable amount in your blood, when the number gets down to 0, you'll still have it. and it can come back and resurface at any time. And so, for that reason, as a preventative, they'll probably have me on some type of a medication, thereon. But I'm hoping they're going to take this damn IV out of my arm. Um, maybe as soon as this coming week. I go back to the hospital on Tuesday to have my normal tests done. They take blood, they do X-rays. I do a pulmonary function test where they check my volume of my breathing, and of course I meet with the doctors. This week they're going to give me a shot. Again, I think this will be maybe the fourth one I've had in the last, I don't know, 6 weeks. Intended to boost my white blood cell count because that's getting low again, and I don't know. They don't seem to know for sure what's causing it, but these shots or whatever do seem to have a positive effect on it. So they'll give me one of those. They wanted me to come in sooner, but the gas money, driving back and forth to Cleveland, I'm filling my tank like twice a week, and it's just. I've gotten to the point with all the medications that I have to buy and constantly refill, and not to mention all the medical procedures that, there's a copay or something for all of these things that I'm doing. Money's a little tight, and so, I told them we've got to combine this thing. So originally I wasn't going to go in until next Friday. I would have had almost a 10 or 11 day gap between visits, but they moved it up. To about 6 days between my last visits, because I was up there Wednesday, and now I'm going to go back Tuesday, because that was as soon as they could see me and give me the shot, along with the other things that I have to do, where there was a doctor, either Dr. Shills or Dr. Kalaru. Those are the two doctors that kind of oversee my case that I meet with every week or two. But other than what I've just mentioned, I've been doing really, really well. I've been, I've been independent. I've been home. I've done something here this month that I hadn't done since my operation. Prior to my lung transplant in October 2nd, I would get on my mobility scooter and I would ride it half a mile down to the grocery store, or when it was open, I would drive maybe the 3/4 of a mile or a mile to the Family Dollar store. When I was a little bit more ambitious, I would drive the scooter all the way down to the square in town, which is about a mile and a half away, and go into the pharmacy. Or, I could go almost anywhere in town on my scooter if I was feeling up to it. And the reason I use the scooter is because, of course, I couldn't walk back then, sometimes, more than, maybe a few hundred feet, if that, to stay qualified, in order to get my lung transplant. I had to go up every month, and they would test, how far I could walk, and I would usually have something to hold on to, in effect like a walker. Basically, I used to hold on to like the back of a wheelchair and use that. But I needed to be able to walk, at least 700 feet in 6 minutes, and they called it the 6-minute walk test. And I was consistently able to do at least that. I usually it was between 800 and 900 feet is what I could do. But that was about the extent of it. I mean, I couldn't do beyond that. I didn't have any, and there were days when I went up there for the test where I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it. Well, anyway, so this month I have been able to take my car to the grocery store or to the pharmacy or to, like Dollar General, or even I think now once I went to Walmart. And without the use of a mobility scooter and without the use of, anything, on some of these occasions I would grab a shopping cart. So in effect, I was using that kind of as a walker, and that does help. Uh, at any rate, I was able to walk through the store and do some shopping. So I've gone to Giant Eagle, I've gone to Shop and Save, which is the local grocer. I've gone to the pharmacy once or twice. I've gone to a Circle K, gone to Walmart once. I went to the place where I purchased the headstone for my mom and dad's grave, and where I also have kind of on layaway purchase for my own headstone that I'm currently paying on every month a little bit. But I went there to put the final, give my final okay on the design of my mom and dad's headstone. So hopefully within the next 5 or 6 weeks that will be done and be put in place, and I'll be able to go up and visit my mom and dad's, plot and see it completed. So I feel pretty good about that. The last time we went up to the hospital, normally I have my friend accompany me, my friend Dustin. I call him Dut for short. And normally we'll park at where they have valet parking right at the front doors. And you have to pay for that, but then you have to pay for the parking garage. There's not much difference. It's more convenient because if you go to the parking garage, I almost have to use my mobility scooter because there's no wheelchairs around. And my friend would have to go all the way, into the hospital practically, grab a wheelchair, bring it all the way back to the car wherever we parked in. So it's more convenient to just use the valet parking. And you pull up to the front door, basically, and they're very nice. They really are. They park your car. They give you a ticket stub, and then you go into the hospital, and there's wheelchairs right there. And so typically what we've been doing is I'll get in a wheelchair right there, and my friend will wheel me to each of my appointments, and it has worked. Well, this week was the first time, Wednesday was the first time that, I walked into the hospital on my own, and I used my rollator, which is kind of like a walker with wheels and brakes, I guess. It's got a little seat on it if you need to sit down. But I was able to do all of the walking. And now why that's significant is because when we're in there, we have to go to various points in the hospital, and they're not always close, and they're not on the same floor. So, for instance, the first thing we do is we go to where I have to have blood drawn there. And their outpatient lab, as they call it. And that's, at one wing of the hospital on the first floor. And then we have to come back towards the middle of the hospital, get on elevators, go to another floor where we get x-rays. And then we go all the way up to the 6th floor in yet another wing of the hospital, where I do my pulmonary function test and breathe into these things and stuff. And then finally, one floor directly below that area is where I usually have the x-rays. And then it's all the way back to the first floor again. And the longest stretch that we have to walk, probably about a quarter-mile walk or so, to get to where we meet with the doctors, which is the last stop, and then we have to walk that quarter-mile back to about where the, where we get our car again at the valet service in the main entrance. So altogether, if you were to add the mileage all up that you're walking in the hospital, it's I don't know. I don't have a pedometer that actually works, but I'm guessing it's probably a mile and a half at the very least of the amount of walking that we're doing in the hospital. And this week I was able to do that, like I say, basically using my rollator, and that's progress, for me. I'm hoping that within the next month or so I'll be able to do more than that, and more. Moreover, that I'll be able to do it without even holding on to a rollator. Typically, like some of these little shopping stints that I've done, going into the pharmacy, going into the, gas station and grab a few items. I haven't even grabbed a shopping cart. I've just, walked to the aisle where I needed to grab, bread and milk or whatever it is, and come back. So I've been able to do more. And I know a couple of weeks ago when the weather was nice, we've had a terrible amount of rain and colder weather here in Ohio, and it's just relentless. We haven't had snow this year, really, to speak of, and we're not getting like the sub-zero temperatures. But it's like in the 30s or in the 40s, and it's cold, and it's raining, which can be really miserable. And so when we do have a few days in the 50s or the 60s, which are rare, I try to get out and do some walking, and we won't go up to Pymatuming Lake, which is about 30 miles from here, and they have 5 or 6 campgrounds, state-run campgrounds surrounding the lake. Some on the Pennsylvania side of the lake, and some on the Ohio side of the lake. And there's they're all basically closed this time of year. I mean, you can make arrangements and stay there. I think at least a couple of them, because there are some fishermen that want to do fishing all times of the year, and they will stay in their trailer or whatever and spend a weekend or a few days out there fishing. But for the most part, these parks are closed right now. And in fact, there's one that had been permanently closed a number of years ago, and they're currently reconstructing it because they're going to open it again, I believe, this summer. And so, but these are places that we go and walk. It's kind of fun to walk around, as it were, an empty campground. The views are wonderful. There's a lot of wildlife. A lot of views of the lake because you're right on the lake. So I did some walking out there about 2 weeks ago. I think we went up there, and again, I wasn't using a rollator. We had actually taken my scooter, and we were taking turns. I let Dustin was on the scooter, and I would walk until I got tired, and then he would get off the scooter to let me sit down for a few minutes, and then we would do it again. And so I was walking maybe a third of a mile or so before. It wasn't that I would get out of breath. My legs would get tired. All of these setbacks have kind of not put me where I wanted to be strength-wise. My legs are still, somewhat weaker than I would like. But I'm able to go up and down stairs. I'm able to, walk up an incline without stopping. And, like I said, it's not a matter of like needing to catch my breath. It's when my legs get like really heavy and sore and tired. And I need to give them a few minutes, rest before I can go on. So I really need to build up my strength. I still have a goal this summer of, hopefully getting out onto a golf course or something. I used to hate golf. When I was a kid and growing up and into my 20s, 30s, 40s even, I never played golf. I thought it was boring. But I took up golf when I finally got to the point, breathing wise, that I couldn't do much else. I've always been somewhat of a competitive person, I guess. And, so I used to play a lot of football, backyard football or whatever. And, continued to play like tackle football, well into my 40s. And, I used to own a stand-up jet ski several different times in my life. I owned one. And, that'll give you a workout, especially if you go on, a lake that's a little rough. I've ridden that thing on Lake Erie. I've ridden it around the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor, which I later found out you're not supposed to do. But, it got to the point where, I couldn't do those things anymore. It was becoming a chore to do, anything physical. And, I used to I wasn't very good at it, but I liked to play basketball, or I'd like to play, as a kid, I loved to play baseball. Couldn't really hit the ball great, but I was pretty good in the field. Um, but as I got older, by the time I was in my 40s or 50s, I couldn't do those things anymore, and it was all because of my lungs. And so I took up golf as as something I could do until I couldn't do that anymore. Um, so it's been probably a good 10 years, uh, at least, since I've really gone golfing. And so I'm hoping, before the end of the summer here, that I'll be able to get out on a golf course. And I don't think I'm almost at the point where I could kind of do a little bit of that now. Because, at most golf courses, you can rent a golf cart, so you're not doing a whole lot of of walking. Um, when when there's a lot of rain or when the course is wet or whatever, most golf courses won't allow you to ride the cart on the golf course itself. Most golf courses have what they call a cart path, where you in bad weather or following bad weather while the course is still damp, they want you to keep the golf cart on the cart path. And so if your ball is way on the other side of the fairway or whatever, in the woods on the opposite side, you have to walk to wherever your ball is. And I don't golf real well. I'm not, I'm not going to be breaking par anytime soon. So for me, it probably will be some walking involved. But I'm looking forward to getting back out there because, right now, though, I think my upper body or whatever is almost ready for it. I'm thinking probably another month and a half. I'll probably be ready to swing a golf club. And I'm kind of looking forward to doing that. Like I say, I'll hopefully these courses will dry out. We've had a heck of a lot of rain. In fact, I've got a little lake in my backyard right now from all the rain, and I'm not really kidding. I've got the dehumidifier down in the basement running because there's water all around the edges of the one part of my basement where I do the laundry and stuff. But I haven't made a video now in, I don't know, I think it's been over a month. And I keep meaning, in fact, I've made one or two videos. I know I was driving up to Cleveland one day about 2 weeks ago, and I was making a video as I was driving. And I think I made another short video. And in both times, I just decided not to upload them for one reason or another. And, so I'm sorry for that. But I just want you to know I'm doing better, I think. And like I say, the main thing is to try to stay out of the hospital because that's really where it gets frustrating. And not only that, it gets expensive. And so I think I'm on the right track right now. They've made lots of adjustments to my medications. I'm not taking quite as many pills as I was. I think at one point I was taking like 30 pills a day, and that's probably down to about 20, something like that. And maybe even less than 20. But and not only that, the amount of some of the dosage of some of these pills that I'm taking has been lowered. So, for instance, I'm down to 5 milligrams of prednisone. I started off at 40 for a couple of weeks, and every month they've been lowering it. So I'm finally down to 5, and that's probably where I'll stay. I'll probably have to take prednisone the rest of my life, and 5 milligrams is, probably where I'll stay unless I have a setback, in which case they have to elevate it temporarily. The anti-rejection medications that I'm taking, and I'm taking basically 2. One is called tacrolimus, and the other is called everolimus. Everolimus is something they added, I don't know, about a month or 6 weeks ago. And I'm taking basically a milligram each of those a day, like half a milligram in the morning, half a milligram at night. And So, um, that's not a whole hell of a lot, to be honest with you. That's, a relatively small dosage. But my TAC levels, as they call them, my anti-rejection levels in my blood were, really high, so they kept lowering it. Um, and they haven't had to make a lot of adjustments to that, but they've made them, occasionally here about every month or two. And um, what they really want to get is they want to get to a point where they don't have to make any more adjustments. Where my body seems to be happy with the levels that I'm getting, and not only that, that I'm not getting any infections and I'm not showing any signs of rejection. No infections, no rejections. I just had a bronchoscopy done about 2 weeks ago. Everything came back great. That's my fifth bronchoscopy now. They've been doing them basically every month. There's a chance, I'll probably have to do one again next month, but there's a pretty good chance at that point they're going to start spacing them out a little bit more, maybe every other month or something. At the conclusion of the first year, so October, hopefully I will have stabilized to the point where my meds are pretty much, set, the amount of meds that I'm taking, and the bronchoscopies are, a little more spaced out, and as time goes on beyond that, they will be able to, I'll be going to Cleveland a lot less frequently, and having these tests a little less frequently. Right now, I'm still doing it basically about every week. But a lot of that's because of the setbacks I've had. The CMV, they're checking the levels to see when they can get this thing off my arm. If it were not for that, I'd probably be going up there every other week. So I'm getting there. Slowly but surely, I'm getting there. The doctors are real optimistic about, as they see it. I've had setbacks, but none of them have been like serious setbacks where they really, were overly concerned about, um, my general prognosis or outlook. So anyway, that's what's been happening. I want to thank everybody for keeping me in your thoughts, and I really appreciate it. And I apologize for not uploading something a little more, um, a little sooner than this. I'll try to do better. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you again real soon.